Hey everybody, it's bingo time once again. Make sure that you have your marker or your crayon and you are ready to circle the ones that get called. You can go ahead and circle that penguin's foot right now. Hopefully that one helps you out to get B-I-N-G-O either straight across or diagonally in either direction. You can go diagonally, any way that you want, but it has to be straight across or diagonal. And then once you get your winning card, then you need to take a picture of it and post it to social media using the hashtag
Music lessons in a box.
Music lessons in a box. And if you do that and you are one of the first people to post your winning card, then you will get points for that. Make sure you don't use an old video or an old card. That's cheating. No cheating allowed. I think that's it. Good luck. Here we go.
It kind of looks like a B, but it's actually a flat sign, and it means to play the note slightly lower. BPM stands for beats per minute, and it's the tempo marking for any metronome. Since the spaces of the bass clef spell the word ace, A-C-E, this is the second one up, which means it's the C of ace. A repeat sign is two dots stacked on top of each other that tell you to go back and play it all again. Dynamics are just the markings that tell us how loudly or how quietly to play each note. Mezzo forte means kinda loud, because mezzo means kinda and forte means loud. If you've got a G in the treble clef or the bass clef, this one works for that. The fourth line up in the bass clef is between those two dots of the bass clef, making it an F, which is why the bass clef is also known as the F clef. This counts as an A in the treble clef or the bass clef. It looks like fine, but it's pronounced fine, and it means it's the end, the finish. This half note is worth 2 beats. The bottom line on the bass clef is always going to be a G. Pianissimo means really quiet, and it usually has 2 P's in a row. 1 P is quiet, 2 P's is pianissimo, really quiet. This hashtag is called a sharp sign in music, and it means to play the note slightly higher. This is a quarter rest, and it's worth 1. This is the great composer Scott Joplin, sometimes classified as a classical composer, but usually classified as a jazz composer. This rest only has 1 notch or 1 flag on it, which means that it's an 8th rest worth 1/2. The second line up in the bass clef is always going to be a B. The treble clef is the graph for all of the higher notes. The fourth line on the treble clef is always going to be a D. That's a treble clef sign. It's the graph for all the higher notes on the piano. This half note is worth 2 beats. That is the incredible jazz pianist Bill Evans. Three is the value of any dotted half note or dotted half rest. This is the first ledger line below the treble clef, which makes it the all-important middle C. The top space on the treble clef is always going to be an E. One and a half is the value of any dotted quarter note or dotted quarter rest. Any whole note is worth 4 beats, also any whole rest. A fermata is also called a bird's eye because it's just a dot with a swoopy line on top of it. It means you can hold out that note for however long you feel is appropriate. The third line up on the bass clef is always going to be a D. Eight VB means you're supposed to play that section 1 octave or 8 notes lower. This counts as a D in the treble or the bass clef. A repetition is any part of a song or solo where you're just repeating some little group of notes. A measure is just a chunk of beats within a song. Most songs have at least 8 or more measures. Some of them have up to like hundreds of measures. You get to mark it off if you have an F in the bass clef or the treble clef. The second line up in the treble clef is always going to be a G. The word piano in music means to play it softly. It's usually indicated by a single P. Eight VA means you're supposed to play it 1 octave or 8 notes higher. This is the great, the amazing Bach. The top space on the bass clef is always a G. Perhaps the most important guy in all of music, this is Mozart. This counts if you've got a C in the treble clef or in the bass clef. The third space up on the bass clef is always going to be an E because the spaces spell the word ace. A-C-E. This is the third one. It's an E. It looks like a top hat, but it's actually a half rest and it's worth 2 beats. Each half note or half rest is worth 2. This dotted quarter rest is worth 1.5 beats. The third line up on the treble clef is always a B. This is a bass clef sign, also known as an F clef. It is the graph for all of the lower notes. Forte means play it loudly. The top line on the treble clef is always going to be an F. This counts as an E in the treble clef or the bass clef. A fourth or a quarter is the value of every 16th note or 16th rest. Mezzo piano means kinda softly because mezzo means kinda and piano means softly. This note is on the top line of the bass clef, which means it's an A. Tenuto means to hold the note for the full value and maybe a little bit longer. That's an eighth note, which is worth 1/2. Anytime we have the treble clef and bass clef showing up together, it's called the grand staff. The bottom line on the treble clef is always going to be an E. Since forte means loudly, fortissimo means really loudly. It's usually indicated with two Fs next to each other. This counts as a B in the treble or the bass clef. The spaces of the bass clef spell A-C-E, ace, and this is on the very bottom one, so it's the A of ace. This dotted half rest is worth 3 beats. This note is on the space above the treble clef, making it a G. Playing a slur or playing legato is just when you connect the notes. It's a big swoopy line over several different notes. Staccato is a dot above or below a note, and it just tells you that you're supposed to disconnect that note from the other ones around. Don't hold it out a long time. A ritornando is when you're supposed to gradually get slower, usually at the end of a song. This whole note is worth 4 beats. Accent looks like a little V on its side above or below a note, and it just means to punch that one a little bit harder, make it a little bit louder. You can find a brace on the grand staff. It's the squiggly line that connects the treble clef and the bass clef. That's an eighth note, which is worth 1/2.
Did you win? I hope you won! That's all the ones that we're calling for today. So hopefully you were a winner, and if so, then you need to take a picture right away and post it to Instagram with the hashtag musiclessonsinAbox. And if you weren't a winner, don't worry. We're playing again next month. You'll get a new card, and you can pick up the points then. If you were the winner, let us know right away, and we'll see you next time. Love ya!
Bye.